Ahoy, YouTubers! Kitten Hoarder here, and you're watching Session Report, the show that takes you to the gamer's table to share in the surprises that come out during play. And today, if you hadn't guessed already, we're going to be playing Nemo's War, 2nd edition. I'm very excited to be playing this one. This is from Victory Point Games, and it is the new edition of a game that I have been waiting to play for quite a while. I believe I first heard about Nemo's War very soon after I started playing solo games, and I heard it was one of the better ones out there, and I had heard that it tells a very strong narrative, and that's something that really interests me, of course. So I said I should track down this game. But around the time I heard about it, they announced they were making a new edition, so I decided I'll wait and get the new edition. And that got delayed a little bit because instead of making it one of the sort of the old style of deluxe edition games, like for instance Darkest Night, that kind of stuff, they wanted to make it the new style of like super deluxe edition games, the ones that are printed in China. So you had to go through a Kickstarter process, and anyway, I don't need to tell you my whole history with the game, but the point is I have been wanting to play this game for quite a while, and I finally got to play it recently. I've played 3 or 4 games of it so far, and I am loving it, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys. Alright, so there's not going to be a rules overview for this game. Because this is going to be a full playthrough, you should get a sense of pretty much all of the rules just through my play. But let me give you a brief sort of synopsis of what style of game this is. So this is a sort of a cross between an adventure game and a war game. It used to be solitaire only, now it's 1 to 4, but I think it's still probably best with 1 player. In the game, you play as Captain Nemo from Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And Captain Nemo, if you don't know, is the captain of the Nautilus, which is one of the first like modern submarines. It's a giant vessel that's capable of diving all the way to the bottom of the sea and staying below the ocean for extended periods of time, and it's run entirely by electricity. And the whole thing was it was almost science fiction at the time it was written, but now it is science fact, just as many early science fiction novels were. So in the game, you play as Captain Nemo, and in the book, Nemo's motivations are sort of ambiguous, and so how they've handled that in the game is that you get to pick from one of 4 motives, or you get to pick one from 4 different motives, and each motive basically determines how you score different things in the game. And based on that, it'll also determine how you are going to approach the game. So you could choose the Explore motive and get a lot of treasure, or try to find wonders at the bottom of the ocean or elsewhere. You could take the Science motive and try to build a lot of engineering marvels for your Nautilus or have a lot of adventures. You could take the War motive and try to sink a lot of battleships, warships. Or you could do what I'm doing for this game and take the Anti-Imperialism motive. So Nemo in this game is anti-imperialist. That means that he's going to get extra points for sinking non-combat ships, non-warships, so basically merchant ships. He is actually going to lose points he's not going to lose points for his treasures, but each treasure is going to be worth less than a printed value. And he's going to get 6 points each for inciting rebellions across the globe. So that's sort of a brief overview of what I'll be doing in this game. As the game progresses, basically, ships are going to come out, and they start out as hidden ship markers, and then once something is filled with hidden ship markers, you'll start drawing ships from the bag to replace them. And at some point, you're going to want to fight these ships. No matter what your motive is, you're going to want to take care of these ships, because not only do they give you points at the end of the game, But one of the ways you can lose is if you basically go through this whole process, the ship placement priority, and basically get to the very last step. So you've done everything else you could possibly do. There's just no room for a ship. You draw one, and there's no place on the map. There's no empty spot anywhere on the map to place the ship, then you lose. Another way you can lose is if one of your ship resources, which is Nemo, crew, and hull, get down to the defeat section. Or you can lose if your, what is it called? What is it called? Your danger track? What is it? No. Your notoriety. That's what it is. If your notoriety gets all the way up to a certain point, which depends on what your motive is. For anti-imperialism, it's all the way over here. For instance, science, it's all the way back here. But if your notoriety gets up to a certain point, you can lose. And if you survive until the end of the game, and none of that bad stuff happens, then you win, and you add up your points, and it's all fun. So the main thing that you're going to be doing during the game is rolling a lot of dice. There's a ton of dice in this game, and you'll see how it works as we play, but most of it's done with rolling dice, applying modifiers to your roll, and then checking on either a success table, or if you're fighting a ship, you just check against a certain value and see if you succeeded. During the game, you also have characters, who are characters from the novels, who you can sacrifice for very powerful effects, and the special thing about a lot of these is they let you do things after a roll has concluded. You can take ships as salvage and add new parts onto the Nautilus. You can, like I said, you can search for treasures at the bottom of the ocean. You can try to incite rebellions, which will actually decrease your notoriety because the world powers are distracted by what's going on the land, and they're not going to be hunting for you in the sea. You can, if your ship gets damaged, you can take actions to try to repair it. And another thing you'll be doing is having a lot of adventures. So let's just take a look at a random adventure card. So at the beginning of every round, you'll be drawing these. And for instance, this one says Prussia declares war, and it gets played right away, and then stuff happens, and you either pass or you fail. And sometimes you have to take a test. Let's see another one. Sometimes you have to take a test, and you either pass or fail. Or sometimes it just tells you, you pass if this happens, or you fail if this happens. Some of them you keep and you can play later, but these are all based on events from the book. And if you pass, they go into your pass pile, and they give you these icons, which are worth a certain amount of points at the end of the game based on what your motive is. So that's an overview of how Nemo's War works. I've already explained that I'm going to be playing as the anti-imperialism motive. I'm playing on the normal difficulty, which is, I believe it's called the officer difficulty. And I'm going to be playing with the Deadly Seas variant, which means that every once in a while when I go to draw a ship, I might get something more surprising. But that's pretty much all I'm going to tell you before the game starts. You'll see the rest of it as the game plays out. Okay, to begin our voyage of 20,000 leagues below the sea, we're going to draw the top card of the adventure deck. Actually, this is the draw pile. This is the adventure deck. But it's a deck of adventure cards, so whatever. Which this deck was created at the beginning of the game based on what my motive is. So, for instance, certain phases of the game are determined by cards in here, and they might last shorter or longer depending on what your motive is. For anti-imperialism, the phase Act 3 of the game, which is when most of the ships are going to be coming out fastest, lasts longer than it does for some of the more peaceful motives. Anyway, we're going to draw the card and take a look at it. Act 1, Prologue. The facts relating to this apparition, entered in various logbooks, agreed in most respects as to the shape of the object or creature in question, the untiring rapidity of its movements, its surprising power of locomotion, and the peculiar life with which it seemed endowed. If it was a whale, it surpassed in size all those hitherto classified in science. So, the thing they're talking about, obviously, is the Nautilus, but at the beginning of the book, nobody knows what the Nautilus is. It's just this mysterious thing that is sinking ships. So we're going to find out where the Nautilus is hiding at the moment. We're rolling 2 dice. sorry, rolling 1 die, and this is a 2, which means the Nautilus is in this ocean, the Eastern Pacific. So we're going to begin the game in the Eastern Pacific. And the other text on the card basically tells me at the beginning of every turn, this doesn't count as a turn, but at the beginning of every turn, when I place new ships, I'm going to be rolling 2 white dice. So I'm going to put this off to the side. This is going to stay in play until it's replaced by another act card, and we will draw another one. Now, the narrator in this book is French, so maybe I should try in a French accent. Let's see. The Grecian Archipelago. Prudence bids us... No, I'm not doing a French accent. Prudence bids us profit by the first opportunity to leave the Nautilus. The occasion must be serious, and our first attempt must succeed. If it fails, we shall never find another, and Captain Nemo will never forgive us. So, Professor Aronnax, Conseil, and Ned Land, these are all prisoners aboard the Nautilus, basically saved from drowning by Captain Nemo, but on the condition that they never leave the ship. So that's what's going on here. I believe Ned Land, most likely, is making a plot to leave. So in the Grecian Archipelago, if I can pass this, I get 4 points at the end of the game, and that's character points. Those aren't affected by your motive. So it says play, +1 notoriety, immediately make an unmodified warship attack, 8 dice roll versus the Nautilus, and suffer any damage that might occur. So, warship attack 8, this is easy, I just roll 2 dice. It's a +1 if I have reinforced armor, which I don't, and -1 if I have any other warships in my ocean, which I don't. So this is just unmodified roll, I need an 8. There you go, I passed. So, I suffered 0 or 1 hits, therefore I passed the card. So I got 4 points for that. Then we're going to go to the ship placement phase, and what happens there is I roll 2 dice, and I put a ship out on each of those oceans. And because there are still empty spaces, I will put a hidden ship marker. Now once an ocean gets filled, then I can put hidden ship markers in adjacent oceans. And once those are filled, then I need to start putting actual ships out to replace the hidden ships. And then I find out how many actions I get this turn. So the action points I get this turn is the difference between the 2 dice. So therefore that's a 1. That's not a great roll. You're hoping for 2 dice that are very far apart, but 1 is pretty much the worst you can do. So, what to do next? Well, I know that my crew is not doing so well. I spent some points at the beginning of the game in order to get this upgrade, which you can start with, but you have to spend some resources to get it, which is a double hull. Or, so I could try and rest the crew, but that takes 2 actions. And I want to try and save it if I can for a lull turn, which is what happens when you roll doubles on the die, and then it'll only cost 1 action. So what I'm going to do instead is I am going to simply move to the left here to the Central Pacific, and then I'm going to end my turn. You can save up to 1 action point between turns. So I move to the Central Pacific, and I'm done. Let's see what the next adventure is. Vigo Bay. This was the scene of a battle of the 22nd of October, 1702. Here, galleons laden for the Spanish government had sunk. Here Captain Nemo came, according to his wants, to pack up those millions with which he burdened the Nautilus. So, I don't know if you can see that pretty well. So we've got a sunken galleons full of treasure. Keep. So I get to keep the card. When the Nautilus is in the North Atlantic or European seas, I can fail to collect +1 treasure, continue collecting treasure 1 at a time until I draw a wonder or retain token, at which time I stop drawing. Or, if I haven't used this by the end of the game, I get 6 adventure points. Now, the adventure cards are +0, the treasures are actually -1, so it maybe would be better not to use it. So anyway, that's that, and then we go to ship placement. There we go. So I rolled a difference of 4. I get 4 action points, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have to put a ship out on 6 and 2, starting with the lower number, so 2, and then 1 on 6. Okay, that's good. So, in this anti-imperialism game, 6 points each for inciting rebellion. That means that's something that I want to happen as often as possible. So, what I'm going to do just to start with is try to incite some rebellion in Hawaii. So what I'm going to do is try that action. I'm going to spend 1 action point, and I'm going to do an incite action, which is I can exert a ship resource for plus X to my action. So, for instance, I could exert the crew, and what that means is you move it halfway to the right, half a space to the right, and that's your modifier. That's a +3. Or I could exert one of my other resources, which because I have a double hull, I get a +1 when exerting hull, so that would be a +3 as well. But for the time being, I'm going to exert crew. So I've got a +3 to this, I have a -0 to it, and we're going to see what happens. Oh dear. Okay, so that's 4 +3, which is 7, and that's barely passing. But because of the incite roll, I look at the table, and it's actually no effect. So we're going to try it again. So I passed, which is good. We're going to exert our crew again. Oh, really? Okay, so that was the exact same effect. We're going to incite one more time. And again, we're going to exert the crew. Oh dear. Ouch. That is not supposed to happen. So any unmodified roll of 2 is an automatic catastrophic fail. Regardless of any dice roll modifiers, you're taking the worst result, which is no effect, but I gain 2 notoriety. 1, 2. So I've made an ass of myself, basically, by trying to incite this rebellion. They do not like me in Hawaii. Go figure. So that's actually not a bad result. It just, I mean, it cost me a ridiculous amount of actions to get that done. With my remaining, oh, and also I do lose 1 of the resource that I basically exerted to try and get that roll. So with my remaining 2 actions, I'm going to spend 2 actions, and I'm going to try to rest my crew, which, rest, I can get +X for exerting Nemo or hull, and I can also spend a treasure to get +X. So I'm going to do a +3 to this, and I'm going to try and give my crew some rest and see what happens. Okay, so I got an 8, 9, 10, 11. That is this. I gain 1 crew. So I back up to where it was, and that was my entire turn. I basically accomplished nothing for the entire turn, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. Let's see what's next. The South Pole. To overcome all the obstacles around the South Pole, even more unattainable than the North Pole, which still hadn't been reached by the boldest navigators. Wasn't this an absolutely insane undertaking, one that could occur only in the brain of a madman? There's a picture. When the Nautilus is in the South Atlantic, I can spend 2 actions and gain +1 notoriety to pass. Well, let's see how much I'd get. If I passed, this would be worth 6 points. Or I fail if I don't use it. And that is in the South Atlantic, which is going to be over here. So far, we'll leave these 2 off to the side. And we will roll. Alright, I got 2 more action points, and I'm replacing ships on 2 and 4. So we've got 1 here, and we've got 1 here. And guys, I'm going to try to incite another rebellion. So, again, I'm going to exert my crew. We got a 3, so I need to roll at least a 6 on 2 dice. It seems like that shouldn't be too hard, you know? But whatever. We'll see what happens. Hey, I got it. All right, so I got a 6, 7, 8, 9, which means I did pass the roll. and I place 1 uprising cube, and I lose 1 notoriety. Perfect. So that was my first action. For my second action, I will do nothing. I'll save that action, and we'll draw another adventure. Ned Land's tempers. Before I could make a single movement to prevent him, the Canadian rushed at the poor man, threw him down, held him by the throat. The steward was choking in the grip of those powerful hands. So there's the picture, Ned Land's tempers. So I have to do a test. If I pass, I can fail the card, and then I can basically put it into the pass file before a future test for +3 DRM. That's awesome. Or if I fail, I lose 1 Nemo or 2 crew or sacrifice Ned Land. That's something I want to avoid. So I'm going to try and pass. Now here the test shows an N and a C resource, which means I can use both of those resources as modifiers. So I'm getting a +5 modifier. I only need to roll at least a 5. And let's hope I'm not continuing to roll 1s on these dice. No problem at all. Okay, so this is going in my keep pile, and I can use it later on for +3 die roll modifier. That's pretty awesome. And then we will roll our ship placement, and I got another 4 points. That's really cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice full turn. And we're putting a ship out on 2 and on 6. Let's go ahead and put that one here. Okay, perfect. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, incite more rebellion. So I'm going down to the South Pacific, and we're going to try and incite rebellion again. So we're going to exert our crew and see what we roll. All right, I got a 7. Add 3, that is a 10. So that should be enough for a success. I'm going to place a uprising cube here, and again reduce my notoriety by 1. Perfect. Now I'm going to go up to the Western Pacific, and I think what I'm going to do here to start with is I'm going to grab some treasure. So I'm going to search for treasure. Now treasure is actually worth fewer victory points because of my motive, but it can be useful for a lot of other things. So because there's not really any ships out, and I don't really want to go picking fights at the moment, we're going to go for some treasure. So this is a search roll. I can exert any resource. So I'm going to exert my crew again. Crew is pretty much the standard thing. And then I'm going to roll and hope to get at least a 9. All right, I got an 8, 9, 10, 11. That is enough for success. I'm going to collect 1 treasure token, and I get rid of that treasure available token. So 1 treasure for me. Let's see what it is. Good, it's a retained treasure. So I can spend this later for a reroll. Those are super handy. Is exactly what I was hoping to get. And I'm going to save my last action point. So let's see what comes next. Aronnax's determination. For 7 months we've been aboard this vessel, and I ask you today, in the name of my companions as well as myself, if you intend to keep us here forever. Professor Aronnax, Captain Nemo says. I'll answer you today just as I did 7 months ago. Whoever boards the Nautilus must never leave it. So this is another test. If I pass, I can immediately return a previously sacrificed character back to play, if available. So that's worth nothing. However, if I fail, I have to sacrifice Professor Aronnax, which is worth quite a bit. So this is something I don't want to fail. So we're going to exert Nemo and crew for this. That gives us a +5 to our die roll. And let's see what we can get. Perfect. So I pass, but nothing happens, basically. But at least nothing bad happened from that. And then we are going to roll our dice, and that is 3 action points. 1, 2, 3. And then Let's see here. We put a ship on number 2. There's no space there, so we're going to put one here instead. And we put a ship on number 5. There's no space there, so we're going to put one here instead. Perfect. All right. And there's a fly in here. I don't understand it. All right, so what are we going to do now? I could incite a lot of rebellions in the Western Pacific. The problem is, as soon as I start rolling lull turns, which is what happens when you roll doubles, all of those rebellions that I've incited are actually going to be causing me trouble. So what else can I do instead? As soon as I can, I want to try and get this arcane library, which gives me a +1 DRM for incite actions and search actions. And I'd also like to get a strengthened prow. So those are upgrades that are available, but I have to sink ships before I can get those. And before I sink ships, I want to see what the ships are. Because I would like, if possible, to only focus on sinking warships in the early part of the game, so that I can put them in my salvage and use those to get upgrades. And then in the later part of the game, transition to sinking the non-warships for points. Okay. So, that's sort of a fancy way of, or a long-winded way of saying I have no idea what I'm doing here. So let's think about it. Well, I have a lot of action points, so I ought to spend them. I think the first thing I should do is, again, try to rest my crew. So we're going to spend 1, 2 and try and rest the crew. I'm going to take +3 DRM to this. And I got 9, which is a 12, which means I actually get 2 crew, 1, 2. So my crew are now at maximum level, which is very nice. Hey, I might as well try and get some hull while I'm at it, right? So I'm going to spend another 2, 1, 2. And we're going to exert crew for this, and we're going to try and get some hull. So I need to get at least a 6. No problem at all. I got a 10 +3. That is another excellent result. So I could get 2 hull, but the maximum I can get is just 1. So that was my whole turn. That wasn't bad. All right, let's see what happens next. Ooh, Vanikoro. The captain came up to me, put his finger in one spot of the chart, and said this single word, Vanikoro. The effect was magical. I rose suddenly. The Nautilus has brought us to Vanikoro? I asked. Yes, Professor. When the Nautilus is in any Pacific Ocean, you may spend 1 action to pass and get +2 treasure, or fail and gain up to 2 ship resources. All right, pretty nice. So I might use that right away because I'm in the Pacific. And we rolled a 4 and a 6, which means I get 2 action points. And we're going to put 1 token out here, and we will put 1 here. So I'm going to take this 2 treasure. So I'm going to spend 1 action, and I'm going to pass and collect 2 treasure and see what I get. All right, I got another retained treasure, which is nice, and I found the Bermuda Triangle, which is one of the wonders. So that goes over here. Most of my collected treasures should go here. I'm just keeping the ones I can actually spend down here. And that's going to be worth 3 points for me at the end of the game. All right, what should I do? I think now I'm going to do nothing. I'm not going to do anything at the moment. So we're going to see what the next turn is. Aha, we've reached Act 2. So Act 1 is always the same length. Act 2 is going to be sort of short for me, and then we're going to get into Act 3, which is where a lot of the real action happens. I was admiring the magnificent aspect of the ocean when Captain Nemo appeared. He did not seem to be aware of my presence, began a series of astronomical observations. Then, when he had finished, he went and leant on the cage of the watchlight and gazed abstractedly on the ocean. So, a couple things happen. One, we're adding some warships to my ship draw pool. And 2, we're adding a black die. So from now on, every time I have to draw, or every time I have to roll for ship placement, that's one additional ship that gets placed. All right, so let's begin with the next card. Attack of the Giant Squid. I'm sure you've heard of this part of the book. Just as we were crowding each other to reach the platform, two more arms lashed the air, swooped on the seaman, stationed in front of Captain Nemo, and carried the fellow away with irresistible violence. So this is a test. If I pass, I can collect 2 treasure. If I fail, I lose 2 crew, or 2 hull, or 1 of each. That's not an option. We're going to pass this. So because of my double hull, I can exert my crew and my hull for 10, plus a 6. So I only need to roll a 4. That seems very possible. Yeah, that was way above a 4. So I pass and I collect 2 treasure. So that's 3 points plus whatever I get for these 2 treasure. That was a nice turn. All right. Oh no. Oh no, those are the worst possible treasures. Okay, so this one says X, which basically means discard it, and I gain 2 notoriety, which is awful. And this one is worth 0 points, which is also awful. But I can use it later on if I need to sacrifice a treasure. And then we're going to do our ship placement. All right, I get 1 point, and I put a ship out on 4, 5, and 5. So here's where you're going to start seeing some of these other ships coming out. So for 4 is absolutely full, which means I need to place it on an adjacent ocean. I can choose which one, so I'm going to place it on 3. That means when I place for 5, I actually have to draw a ship to reveal one of these hidden ships, because this is full and the 2 adjacent oceans are full. So the nice thing about the rules is that you can actually draw the ship and then decide where it goes. So we're going to reveal a hidden ship. It's the Mary Celeste, which is a ghost ship. So that's going to be worth 5 points for me if I can sink it. That's a huge amount of points. I'm going to put this in the North Atlantic. So it needs to go either in the European seas, which is 5, or in an adjacent ocean. And then we're going to draw the next one. And again, it's going to either go in the European seas or an adjacent ocean. Oh no, it's a rogue wave. Oh, that's bad. Okay, so X, which means discard and lose 1 character if available. I'm glad I got it out of the way early, but let's see what happens. I think the 2nd officer got swept overboard. So I just lost 3 points, but you know what? That's fine. Okie dokie. So that Mary Celeste, that's looking very tempting. I want to go over there eventually, but as I am right now, I think I'm going to spend 1 action and try to do an incite action in the Western Pacific. Okay, so we're going to try and incite a rebellion in the Western Pacific. Again, I'm going to exert my crew, so I get a +3. I need to roll at least a 6. I rolled a 10, which means I got actually a 13, which means I get to place a cube and get -2 to my notoriety. So I'm keeping my notoriety very low, and I'm going to save my remaining action. Let's see what the next card is. The Red Sea. The Greek and Latin historians do not speak favorably of the Red Sea. It is, he pretends, a sea subject to fearful hurricanes, strewn with inhospitable islands, and which offer nothing good, either on its surface or in its depths. So, I must either pass, in which I get 3 points, 3 points, because it's a wonder, or I may take up to 2 discarded ship tokens, if available, and place them in empty salvage point boxes, if available, and fail. Well, the second option isn't going to happen because there's no ship tokens that have been discarded, so I'm passing and getting 3 points for that. I mean, that would have been actually really nice if it had come up later, but that's not happening. Okay, I got 1 action point, and we rolled a 2, 5, and a 6. So for the 2, all of the spaces in the Eastern Pacific are filled, so we're going to put one in the Central Pacific. A 5, again, we're going to draw a ship to replace one of these hidden ones. And it is an armored frigate, which is what I want. I want to be killing these warships early so I can put them up here and spend them to get upgrades. And then I'm going to be killing the merchant ships later. So we're going to put the Gilland, the armored frigate, in 3 because it's closest to me. And then for 6, there's an empty space available still, so we're going to put it ship in the Cape of Good Hope. All right, and then I have a couple of actions available to me. So my notoriety is still fairly low. It would be nice to try to incite in here, but the problem is the more uprising cubes there are in an ocean, if I did roll a lull turn, the more likely it is that I'm going to lose those. So I'm not going to get those yet. So I'm going to spend an action and move over here. And I'm going to save the remaining action. A pearl worth 10 million. There, between its leaf-like folds, I saw a loose pearl as big as a coconut. Its globular shape, perfect clarity, and wonderful orient made it a jewel of incalculable value. Carried away by curiosity, I stretched out my hand to take it. Weigh it. Fondle it. All right, this is a keep card. So if in the Indian Ocean, I can take an action, and either I fail and collect 3 treasure, or I fail and gain 1 notoriety, or if I don't ever do that, I get 1 of each of these at the end of the game. Now that would be worth only 3 points. So probably the 3 treasures is way better. So we're going to keep that in case we ever make it to the Indian Ocean. And we're going to roll for ship placement. See, this is what I was worried about. This is a lull turn. So what happens during a lull turn, we ignore the black die. I get 0 action points. I have to put a treasure available token in 4 or an adjacent ocean. So we're going to put the treasure available token in the Cape of Good Hope. And we put a treasure available token up on this adventure deck. And then we have to check each of these uprising cubes to see if they get lost. And that is not likely to happen at this point, but it could happen. So let's see what happens for this. So it says, add the number of uprising cubes and all revealed ship tokens in that ocean, and roll a die. If the result is greater than or equal to the sum, the Imperious Power's efforts fail and there is no result. So actually, there's basically no chance of that happening. So each of these has 1 token, one uprising cube, and no revealed ships. So even if I rolled a 1, I would still pass. So that's nice. If I had to, I would. If that didn't happen, I would have to gain notoriety, which sucks. Okay, or give up the cube, which also sucks. Okay, so for this turn, I have all of my, because it's a lull turn, all of my actions cost only 1 instead of 2. So I'm not in the South Atlantic. I'm in the Arctic, actually. I don't have any salvage, so I can't get any upgrades. But I should do something. So I'm going to spend an action to do an adventure. And the adventure is basically I draw this card, and I get the treasure for it. So let's see what happens with this card. Do no harm. Okay, this is actually a tricky one. I need a 10, and I would exert a Nemo to get it. But if I get it, then I get cannonballs that I can use in combat later for additional dice roll modifiers. If I pass, if I do the action on the card, basically I get the 2 treasures. So I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to exert Nemo, and that means I need to roll an 8. I have a couple of chances to re-roll if I needed to. So we're going to try it. I need an 8. A 7. So close. So, considering that's a 7, I don't want to re-roll it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to sacrifice Ned Land. I'm sorry, Ned Land. You were sort of angry. So that means I have to get a notoriety immediately, and I lose 4 points at the end of the game. But I do get a +1 to this one roll, which means I succeed in the test. And that's good, because it means my Nemo is still strong. Actually, I might not do that. What the heck. We're going to take it. Alright, so they attacked me, and I had to defend myself. All the same, I was content simply to put the frigate in a condition where it could do me no harm. It won't have any difficulty getting repairs at the nearest port. So this is, I think, in reference to early in the book when the frigate that is hunting down Nemo, that has Professor and Ned Land and Conseil on it, gets sunk. So I got 3 cannonballs. These can be used for +2 DRM and +1 notoriety in a future attack. So I'll put those up there. But unfortunately, I did lose 4 points for Ned Land, and I gained a notoriety for that. I also get these 2 treasures. So I'm going to draw 2 treasures immediately. I mean, I might have just lost I would have lost 2 Nemo, but Nemo is hard to get back. You actually need to get a special card or token that tells you can get Nemo back. And it's a short track, so it's risky to lose Nemo. Okay, we've got 2. So both of them are retained tokens, which is great. One of them is gain 1 hull, one of them is a reroll. Perfect. And then we're going to that was actually not an adventure. That was a adventure action that I took. So we're going to the next card. The Coral Realm. Captain Nemo and his men had come to bury their companion in this communal resting place on the inaccessible ocean floor. I either pass and gain 2 crew, or I fail and lose 1 crew. I'm not going to exert crew for this, because if I exert crew and I fail, I could lose up to 3 crew. If I exert crew and I pass, I get nothing. So we're just going to roll it, and I might lose a crew, and that's okay. I passed it anyway. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to roll. Hopefully not another lull turn, please. No, this one's nice. 1, 2, 3 action points, and we get ships on 2, 3, and 6. So 2, there's one right there. 3, there's one right here. And 6, we're gonna draw. Yes. Something seems weird about this drawstring. It feels tight to me. All right. Da-da-da. Ah, no. Okay. So in 6, I have to place 2 more ships, and I believe that is in the ocean where I drew it. Let's check it. When placed, they automatically trigger the placement of 2 more ships in that ocean. Okay. So that means I can put 1 here. Actually, I don't have to put them there. I could put in 1 or in the Cape of Good Hope or in the European seas, but we're going to do that. And I have to draw 2 more ships now, which is actually not bad. I mean, I wanted to get some ships out so I could actually attack them. All right, we've got the Britannia. Let's put that one up in the European seas. And 1 more. The Scotia. You can probably remember that from the book if you read it. And we will put that one also in the European seas, so that later on I can just go there and sink both those ships for some points. But first, I'm going to try and sink the Gilland. So we're going to spend 1 action to move over here, and then we're going to spend 1 action to attack the Gilland. So first thing that happens is we roll the dice for the Jillin's attack. Oh, and I have to decide if it's a stock attack or a bold attack. Now, stock attack gets a +1 to your die roll. Bold attack, you can keep doing more attacks, but you have to stop if you either fail a roll or if you put the ship on the salvage track. Now, I'm planning on putting this on the salvage track, so it wouldn't make sense to do a bold attack. I have to do a stock attack here. So, first I roll to avoid the Jillin's cannons. I rolled a 7, which is high enough. And now I can exert a ship resource, and I get +1 in addition to that. So I'm going to exert my crew, and I get +4, basically, essentially. And I need to roll a 10, so I need 6 more. Okay. Not the best result, but I don't think it's bad enough that I want to waste one of my reroll tokens or anything like that. So what is going to happen, basically, because I failed on the attack, I get +1 to my notoriety, the ship is not sunk, and I lose 1 crew that I exerted because I rolled a 1 on my lowest die. If I had rolled a 2 or better on my lowest die, I would have lost 2 crew. But if I had rolled a 2 or better, I would have succeeded. So, okay, so I have 1 more action remaining. I do want to take out this warship, so we're going to try 1 more time. Now, unfortunately, that means I'm going to have to go through the process of avoiding its cannons again, but I've succeeded. And we're going to, again, exert our crew and hope for the best. We're getting a +4 on this. Okay, that's a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so we've succeeded in sinking this ship. So that in itself gives me +1 notoriety. So my notoriety is creeping back up. But I can put this on my salvage track and start working toward getting upgrades for the Nautilus, which is nice. All right, let's see what's coming up next. A capital encounter. That's a sort of a bad one. Soon the Canadian announced that the craft was a big battleship, a double-decker ironclad complete with ram. Dark, dense smoke burst from its 2 funnels. Its furled sails merged with the lines of its yardarms. The gaff of its fore and aft sail flew no flag. It is a capital ship, which means I have to take this capital ship, put it in my ocean, and fight it immediately as a mandatory stock attack. So, yeah, there's the picture. I also have to fail this, and I get +2 notoriety. So bad all around, actually. And I have to do a stock attack. So first, it's going to attack me. I did not dodge its attack, which means I take damage equal to the lower die's value. And that damage is to my hull. So my hull has been damaged. Now, if I rolled a 6, I would ignore that damage to my hull. I then get to attack back. We're going to exert our crew again. We get a +3 to this die, and it's +1 because it's a stock attack, so we're hoping for a 6. I rolled a 7, so that's even better, and I've sunk the Cerberus. Now, unfortunately, that gives me another notoriety. And because it's worth 3 points, I think it would actually be better to put it down here on my tonnage track, because that will be, basically, I get to score those 3 points at the end of the game. So we're going to put it down here in the North Atlantic, like so. And that's going to be 3 points for me at the end of the game. And then I roll for my ship placement. That was close to a lull turn. That would have been bad. It's still not great because I only get 1 action. All right, so we get 4, 5, and 6. Sorry, 4, 5, and 5. There's 1 for 4. For 5, I get to draw a ship, which is actually what I wanted. And it's an armored frigate. Let's put it right where I am so I can fight it immediately this turn. And for the other 5, it is an ironclad, the Ryujo, and let's put that in this ocean, because we don't want the warships all in the same ocean. So that's actually nice. What I can do now is, as my action for the turn, I'm going to attack this armored frigate. So first I have to avoid its attack, which is cost me 6, or I have to roll a 6 or better. That was almost disastrous, but it was actually not that bad. I take 1 damage from that. So let's see where my damage hits. Aha! My reinforced double hull withstands the damage, so that's perfect. And then I attack the Ryujo, sorry. And I've got +3, that's a +4. I think I can roll a 6 on 2 dice. I mean, it's more likely than not that I will roll a 6. It would be really nice if I had my strengthened prow or something like that, but that's not happening. So I'm deciding whether I want to try and use a cannonball. But I don't think I'm going to use a cannon here. I think I can do it. A 6! Just barely. That's great. So I have succeeded in sinking this ship, and I'm going to put that up on my salvage track. Now I have enough to get the Arcane Library, or I can try and sink 2 more ships and get the strengthened prow, which would be very nice to have. I want them both. The strengthened prow, I think, is a higher priority for me, because the Arcane Library is basically just there to give me bonuses to my Insight actions, which I'm definitely going to be wanting to do. But is it more important than getting a +1 to all of my attacks? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Okay, so that was my whole turn. So let's see what's coming up next.